I read someone's commentary on these scriptures today. The opening sentence is this: the phrases from this Sunday's readings are a prophetic voice addressing the 1% of people who own the world's wealth. The 1% of people in the world who own more than 90% of the rest of the people in the world. But I would say Jesus did not address those words to the 1%. There were no 1%ers in the crowd that he was talking to that day. Nor is he saying that to people in our time. Jesus spoke to a man who displayed a greed about the inheritance in the family. I remember when my father died, and my brother and I were clearing out his room. My mother was still living, of course. We found a total of 63 cents. And we figured out a way to divide it among us. Of course, one got a penny more than the other, and I don't remember which one got the largesse. My brother and I had nothing to argue about inheritance. But Jesus identified, saw something in that man's request that reeked of greed. Maybe not so much on the part of the man requesting, but on the part of the brother who had all the money. Either way, he then speaks to the crowd. A crowd of ordinary people like you and I, you and me, meaning-seeking people, just ordinary folks, not of extreme wealth by any means. And he turns and he speaks to the crowd. To them and to us, he says, be careful not to think you own the future. You don't own the future. No matter how much you have, no matter how many savings, no matter how many IRAs, no matter what you got, you do not own the future. And then St. Paul, in the second reading, follows that up, saying, be careful not to make some kind of idol of your possessions. He says greed can be idolatry. And Jesus says, be careful not to hold on to so much that your lifestyle impinges upon other people who are poor and in need. Do not store up everything you have for yourselves. It's a message that Jesus delivers to the crowd. And that's what the man in the parable was intending to do, save it all for himself. But Jesus says earlier there, life does not consist of possessions. Life does not consist of possessions. And ultimately, we need to grow rich in what matters to God. The question there is, so what matters to God? What is it I'm supposed to grow rich in? St. Paul, again, in that reading, second reading, says we are to seek what is above. Turn our minds to what is above. Because he said you've been raised with Christ. And you are now this new creation. And as one who has been raised with Christ, you are in the image of God. So you are created, we are created for relationships. We're created for love, not to amass wealth, but we are created for relationships, for love. We're created for generosity. Not hoarding, but generosity. We're created for that. We're created to be of service to others. Not self-serving, service to others. Care for one another. And as we're greatly aware today, the care for our common home is part of our obligation. This planet of ours is suffering so much because of the kind of economies that have dominated the world. We live in an accumulation economy. Questioning myself, how can I live in a gift economy, not an accumulation economy? What is it to live in a gift economy? Somebody else turned the phrase that, yes, seeking the good life is okay, but not seeking the goods life. Not just the accumulating of goods, but what's really good life? What's that look like? People who live for their goods are not going to know the joy that Christ offers us in this life. So in our accumulation economy, it's not a bad thing to sometimes want nicer things, newer things, the more advanced technological things. It's not a bad thing to save for retirement. Nobody is telling us we can't do that. But we need to strive for an economy of enough. When do I have enough? And I don't need more and more. Along the way, we want to be sharing with others what we can, not just holding on tightly to every dollar we have, but learning to be generous with the blessings life has afforded most of us. In that respect, I think of next Sunday, we'll have a missionary speaker here on behalf of the missions of the Missionary Daughters of St. Rita. I don't know where they minister, I don't know what their passion is, but certainly part of the role of the priest who's coming to speak to us is to ask for a generosity from us to help with their endeavors. It would be one moment that we can, in a sense, be prepared to be a little generous, take some part of what's ours and share it with others. We started off this morning singing, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God. Everything else will be afforded us." And that's always a great reminder. Seek first what is of God. Or as Paul said, what is above. Turn our minds there. Seek that relationship with Christ, not the relationship with our goods. To seek what is deep down good. So, the words today of the Scriptures are not addressed just to the richest people in the world. Would that the richest people in the world would hear these words and respond to them, but it's also spoken to us, far from the richest people in the world, but still in relationship to the rest of the world, we're mighty blessed. And we need to keep that gift economy as something we want to try to live with, not just accumulating, storing up for ourselves. But how do I live in an economy of gifting, sharing that with others?